It's Friday. Hope you're doing well. Hope this day is everything that you were hoping it would be and more. Because it's Friday, which means tomorrow is Saturday. It's the weekend starting in the not too distant future. And I'm excited about it. I really am. Because I have a visitor coming into town that I'm looking forward to spending time with. And we're going to do some fun stuff. And I'm not going to be here next week at all because I'm on vacation next week again. Yeah, things you got to do when you have vacation. You got to take it. If you don't take it, you don't use it, and then it's no good to you. What is a vacation if you don't vacation? And I don't mean that you have to go somewhere. I mean just not working, decompressing, taking some time for yourself. Important things to do. Hey, if you don't know who I am, my name is Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff every single day, even when I'm not here, even when people don't want to hear the sound of my voice. And lately, I've been getting tired of the sound of my own voice because I've been doing voiceovers for training videos and things like that internally for police officers, and it's been a lot. It's much less fun than talking to you, which I love doing every single day when I can, and I'm excited to do another episode today. So let's get into it. We're going to start with, I see all sorts of people dropping in for hellos, which is awesome. Let's talk about something serious. Let's talk about Vision Zero Enforcement Team. But before we even do that, let's talk about the fact that we're broadcasting on a whole bunch of different channels. Yes, we are on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Kick, as well as X. Really, nobody wants to call it Twitter anymore, right? Right? Okay. If you're on Twitter, you know you can ask us questions now, right? You can put questions in the comments. It shows up. It works. Just saying. If you're not getting the best experience, and let me tell you that if you're on Instagram, you're not getting the best experience. But I see 53 Mike Knefsky sending Friday wishes right back at you. But if you're on Instagram like you are, you should come over to YouTube or one of the other platforms because the water's better over here. It's easier to see you. Like if I hadn't looked over right now, I would have totally missed that message, and I'm glad I got that message. So thanks for that. We got. Oh, afterwards, after this is done, we download it. And when you upload it back up to the cloud, it goes on Spotify so you can download, synchronize, and listen while you're on the go, which is actually awesome. I say I'm tired of my own voice, although I'm losing my voice. Apparently, I need to drink some water. I actually listen to the podcast sometimes. I like to understand what the user experience is. I mean, it's not fake engagement like trying to get one extra view. That's not happening. But I do listen to it on occasion. And, it sounds good. I like it. All right. I said Vision Zero Enforcement Team. Let's get that out of the way. They are the most magical of people that go and try and change driver behavior one ticket at a time. They're out there in the I was going to say the interwebs, but they're actually on the road. They're IRL. They're out there doing stuff and things. They're issuing tickets to change driver behavior, and that's really important to do. And did we not get a message that went out today? No, apparently not. Apparently it didn't go out. Well, I can tell you that today being the 7th, 22 Division and 51 Division, that is where they are hanging out. And what are they doing there? They're looking for those who choose to drive over the speed limit because speeding bad. Aggressive driving bad. Distracted driving, also actually really, really, really bad. And impaired driving, well, that's just ludicrous. But they're focused on those things because we know that those particular behaviors, those choices drivers make, lead to serious injury and death on our roads. It's just there's no in and around or a nice way to say it. Like, if you engage in that kind of behavior, the word of the day is nincompoop. And that's what we're suggesting you might be acting like. I just posted a video and used the word nincompoop in it, so now it's a thing. We're trying to come up with words of the day and turning it into a thing. We got a question on Instagram who says, sounds silly, but can we drive without shoes? Slippers is fine in summer. While we're going to start looking at other questions, I'll start with that one since I happen to notice it. The deal is you can legally drive barefoot. You can legally drive with slippers or flip-flops or tongs or whatever you want to call them. But shoes that are securely fastened, attached, affixed to your footsies, are the best way to go. You have to know that although you can't get a ticket for it, think about the flip-flops that flip underneath your brake pedal and you can't stop. or something gets lodged behind, like just bad things can happen. But even barefoot, when you slam on that brake pedal, you might hurt your toesies. It's a thing. Good morning to Tim Shallow, who says, good morning and happy Friday, everyone. Paul says, hello, Sean. Happy Friday, all. Julie Massey says, good morning and happy Friday to all. Brandon says, good morning from New York. Just about to start a responsible rally with some friends. Let's have a fantastic day. You all rock. Well, thank you for the message. How's the new Mustang? Is it a Mustang rally? What are you doing there? Akela Draconis says, greetings and salutations. I'm not feeling well. I'm sorry to hear that you're not feeling well. I might not be feeling well as I got that tickle in my throat that's going on. I had one of my kiddos was feeling suboptimal. Suboptimal, I think is the right way to say it. Good morning. We have Basharat Ali, who's sending messages from Punjab, Pakistan, who says, morning, Sir Sean. Happy National Donut Day. How many have you eaten today? I've had none. I had a keto breakfast, and that was it. And I'm okay with that. I'm not actually a donut person. If you go to Twitter, at Traffic Services, actually, I can just show it to you. I can show you the post, because I had fun with the post. Let's see here. This is the one. Okay. Let's share this page very quickly, and then I will share with you. This is my donut day picture. Does that not look like I enjoy donut? Well, actually, the post says that not all cops like donuts. I'm actually a chicken wing person, and don't those chicken wings look enormous? As does the donut. That is AI generated, my friends. I do not wear that uniform, nor are my biceps bulging out of my shirt. I buy shirts that fit, and I don't know why they made me wear rubber gloves, but hey, whatever. Okay, it's a Photoshop. It's a photoshopped AI generated graphic that looks not much like me, except my face being pasted over. Good morning, Sarge. Sarge is joining us. He's entering the room. I will move over to make space. We were just talking about Donut Day because we got the question was, how many donuts have you eaten so far to celebrate this magnificent occasion of National Donut Day?
And
we're getting
the answer so far has been
none. But you've already had a nutritious breakfast, which is important.
I must say that I did have a really good breakfast.
Yes. Breakfast. This is the wonderful thing about breakfast is it's usually the first meal of the day.
Well, I've heard. Except, well, it's definitely not the first coffee of the day because I have one as soon as I wake up. So,
speaking of which, I need to have this at the ready. I've had a lot of coffee today, but it's good because
you're awake
today. Yes, I would say that if there was a way of delivering coffee without having to, this distracting thing, like if it could just give me the caffeine through intravenous, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, no, I still like the coffee. It's the smell. And I'm a little weird. I can't have hot coffee. I have to let it chill for a little bit.
Okay, not a sponsored thing, but I love this CAA Yeti because I sometimes don't even open this until I'm going home, and it's still as hot as I made it. It's ridiculously good, and I would never. That's a very expensive sippy cup.
Yep,
and
it is.
I think it's actually worth the money, oddly enough. And I don't say that about many things.
See, insulated coffee cups, I have to put an ice cube in.
Well, no. I also started drinking my coffee black, so it stays hotter than hot. Yeah. We've got Shlomo who says, happy Friday, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to you too. Good morning from Zombie. And a question as things move away. Do all TPS patrol vehicles have plate readers in them? Has it officially been announced that we have completed the transition?
Soon to be, yes. Soon to be, it'll be happening. And we're using them more and more. We're using them as part of investigations. We're using them to initiate investigations. So it's a good thing. It is.
I love the fact that this means that it's actually safer for police officers. Because when I was on the road, as you will remember, because it was when you were on the road, it was manual entry.
Yeah.
And you are distracted when you're doing that, but you're trying to investigate. You're trying to do everything all at the same time, and it's dividing your attention.
Back in the old days, it was over the radio, so you had to take that information, relay it back, have somebody read it out, the answers to you, and try and remember them as you were going forward doing your investigation.
Can't imagine what would go wrong there.
Nope, nothing.
We have a suggestion for the next word of the day.
Okay,
Fanzanoon, which Paul has regularly suggested as I think his favorite word. But we're in the nincompoop is today.
Nincompoop is today.
I used it in the video.
Did you?
I did.
Excellent.
So I posted a video, which I haven't yet to post on other platforms, but it's about an nincompoop.
Yeah, he is. He's attempting to drive a car properly. He doesn't.
Well, he may just be incapable of. Maybe he doesn't understand how the accelerator
he's
works.
just a nincompoop.
Or a Fonzanoon.
I don't know what a Fonzanoon is.
I know. We keep saying it without actually checking the dictionary definition, if it exists as a word. Linda sends hero love, or good morning, hero. Love you all. Our big supporter. We have many good supporters, but Linda makes a point on Facebook to be the number one Facebook supporter.
Good morning and thank you.
And in fact, you got a specific good morning when you came in. Storm Gaming Official says, good morning, Sean. Nice to see you again. How's your morning going? Always giving us good info, and we're always learning something new from you. That is a thank you for the good morning, and I appreciate the appreciation. We have a lot of fun doing this. It is a fantastic way to engage with the public and provide, like you said, valuable information, because not everybody knows the stuff that we're talking about. I just realized that our connection to Twitter, that one, TikTok is not working.
Oh.
Let me try and fix that, because I can do that. We don't actually know if we can, but we'll try. Okay, we'll turn the relay on and see if things start working. So I've been ignoring you, but not trying to ignore you folks over on TikTok. Okay, I will come back and look at stuff. Give them a couple of seconds to start working, but here we go.
Works.
But either way, we can read. It's a small group today.
It's Friday.
It's Friday.
It's Friday, and it's June, so maybe people are taking the day.
That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. To take the day, to take their time, to relax a little bit. What is it? Slow down, or stop and smell the roses. And I'm going to open up Word. Yesterday, we had a complete crash of the live stream. We're already ahead of the game there. Hasn't crashed. We're doing well.
Well, I'm glad I missed it.
Yes, because it was dark in here. It was 2 black screens. It was a blue screen with 2 black screens. All right. That is a very small Word document. Let's make that a little bigger.
You copying and pasting and bringing it in, using your technology when the technology doesn't work?
Yeah, you know what? Yes. Boy, paste never took so long. Word is not responding.
Word.
Really? It's paste, people. It's just cut and paste. Oh, there we go. Okay.
There you go.
Technology not making me happy. Let's see here. Ryan LeMay says, is there officers that are available during the day to speak to in regards to recruiting? Absolutely. Now, I don't know what their availability is, like where in the world they are and what they're doing, but there's certainly a recruiting unit, and they generally have officers standing by to help you out. But the first place to start, and I'll put it on the screen, is the magical website of tps.ca/careers. And we can go there now. We can jump the queue. I wasn't going to do this yet, but let's go there. Since you're
people are asking.
They're asking, so it means it's important. So this is the website when you get into it, and all the information about police constable, special constable, parking enforcement, and comms operator right there. Lateral hire is for police officers qualified elsewhere, wanting to move to Toronto. Auxiliary officer, where they will be, it's a volunteer position. It's how I started, and that is something they're actually looking for, putting another class through. And then civilian rules. But if you want to talk to someone at recruiting, start here, get your base information out of the way. Don't go to the recruiter and ask them stuff that you could have just read about, because you're going to upset them. It's frustrating when someone comes in and doesn't know anything, hasn't done their homework.
You want to be a police officer, you better know how to investigate.
I think that's a very good piece of advice.
Look at the background, check it out first, and then ask what you don't know.
Other new jobs posted. E-learning specialist, senior analyst, senior programmer, communications operator, and developer digital team. I think that's the same as yesterday. Oh, 5 jobs. There's one more. I don't know, maybe it was the e-learning specialist that was joined. In any case, these are civilian jobs, and if you're interested in serving your community without putting on a uniform and going out into the streets, one of these could be an option for you. And maybe it's not for you, but it's for someone you know. So send them to the website. Let them know there are opportunities, and this magical organization is hiring, and you could join this club. It's a good club. It is a good club. It's a cool club. Now, what we got here? We got Fenton. We covered this. We covered that. So Brandon's at a car event, and I asked him how his Mustang's doing, and he says he has 2 Mustangs, a Corvette, and a Camaro, and he's doing a once-a-year road trip. So which is your favorite then? If you have so many, like you're covering all the manufacturers, aren't you? Like, what else is there? Obviously, you prefer Fords over the others, is what I'm picking up from what you're putting down.
Why? How'd you get that? There's 2 Chevrolets and there's
two. Oh yeah, okay. So it's an even Steven. but specifically, he likes Mustangs, I guess. Or one's new.
What? Classic cars, yeah, I like Fords.
And
new cars, I'm currently driving a General Motors car, so we have a few Japanese. Ford too.
I like the cars I fit into.
Uh-oh.
It's
should have brought a drink with me. Here,
I have a case of water right there. No, I have a case of water right there. I have stuff ready. It's like the green room. I got coffee machines. We are set for success. And I see that things are still not working. I'm going to try and one more time to hit that relay button, reload, see what happens. All right. What do we got here? We have Akela Draconis who says, word of the day, are we channeling Pee Wee Herman? I don't remember really watching Pee Wee Herman. Except there was the Pee Wee Herman original movie. Did you watch the movie?
The original one, yep.
Yeah.
I think everybody did.
I think you had to. It was a rite of passage. But I don't know. Now I'm trying to access those memory banks that have not been used in many, many, many years. And the word of the day thing rings a bell, but you could tell me that he was a sailor in the high seas, and I would believe you because I don't really remember.
That would be Popeye.
Yes.
The Sailor Man.
Because he eats the spinach. Vachi squad. Okay, I don't know what lit. Good morning, guys. How you doing? I am doing well. How are you doing? Also,
I'm doing well.
Also well.
It's Friday.
Storm Gaming official says your computer acting up again. I don't know if it stopped acting up or if it's just a consistent way of being. I am definitely overtaxing the machine. I drive this with I don't know if I have 16 or 32 gig of RAM, but it is a laptop with an i5 processor, and I think we're doing a little more than it was designed to do.
Well, we should upgrade.
I think so. I was talking about that yesterday.
Just for you.
What's this? Where is the summer? Is it not here?
Well, it's the weekend. It's supposed to rain.
Oh. But it's not officially summer. When is officially summer come in?
When it rains every weekend.
Oh.
Springtime, it only rains on some weekends.
Oh, no, summer's every weekend?
What's the time duration to receive a court date for a trial requested?
That's the question that I already put on the screen. Here we go. Where to go? Selecting.
I'm looking over your shoulder.
Oh, and TikTok is now connected. We're now working again.
Good.
But either way, Saran wants to know what's the time duration to receive a court date when when asked for a ticket for trial. So this is where you take one of your options. You want to dispute it, and how long does it take? Well, that's a good question because there are often backlogs, and that could be 6 months to get into court, a year sometimes.
You know what? I would, if you haven't received anything within 6 months, I would start inquiring. The last thing you want to do is find yourself at the side of the road with a suspended driver's license because something happened and you were aware of it, and getting your car towed away. So,
but in terms of the actual trial, so not response, but trial dates could be 6 months to a year. So you should hear something faster.
Yeah.
If I would even go so far as to say that if it's a couple of months you haven't heard anything, I'd contact back. It could be a telephone call, it could be a visit, but they're usually pretty good. It's certainly not instantaneous. And let's see here, we got 30%. Where'd it go? 30% on the front window is legal, right?
I beg your pardon? What did you just say?
They said 30%. It's orange juice, or 30% tint on the front window is legal, right? If you mean front, like windshield, then no, nothing can be on the windshield. If you're talking about the windows directly left and right of the driver, 30% is the maximum light blockage you can have before the vehicle is deemed unsafe and couldn't be certified for the road. That's when we take your license plates and remove them because your vehicle is unsafe for the road. If you're talking about certification, yes, but that 30% tint could get you a ticket for obscuring the interior of your vehicle.
Yeah, if we can't see in, or any member of the public can't see in, to identify you, to see what your actions are, or things like that, it could be just because of, I don't know, light conditions, or
Well, if it's dark outside and you can't see in, but
something like that, then yeah.
But in bright daylight, it may be fine. In darkness, it may not be. And people say, well, but the tint's the same. But the atmospheric conditions, I like that word, or those words in combination, it changes things. And it may no longer meet the requirements. And people say, well, what's the big deal? Like, if you can't tint your windows, why are you allowed to wear sunglasses? I mean,
Because a smart person would take the sunglasses off at night, except for, what was his name? Corey
Hart. I wear my sunglasses. Yeah. The deal is, though, that one is about vision, and there's two elements of the tinted window restrictions. One is that you can't prevent us from seeing in, and two, you can't prevent yourself from seeing sufficiently out. So you can actually get a ticket for obscuring driver's view, as well as we get a ticket for obscuring the interior.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. What he said.
Yeah. What's the consequences for spectating street racing and takeovers? Aha. Depends.
Yeah, it is changing.
Because the nincompoops that are engaged with, the nincompoops driving the cars and stunt driving, they have serious consequences, because anything from stunt to criminal dangerous driving. I mean, everything is up for grabs when you're putting lives at risk. And people say, well, that's not a big deal. We're just goofing around. And goofing around sometimes leads to tragedy. And the risk of tragedy is enough to lay the charge. That said, in jurisdictions like York Region, where attending or hosting or organizing could land you tickets that under a bylaw.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
I think it's the highest is that the business organizing it, $10,000.
And you know what? Lawful assembly anywhere is all right. We're allowed to do that. We're Canadians. We're allowed to do it. Unlawful assembly, or assembly for an unlawful purpose, that's where you start getting investigated.
Sam says, can I collaborate with you, community? Can I collaborate with you, community? You just did. What would you like? If you did want to collaborate as a creator and you have a community that you want to reach out to, we have done great work with our Brazilian fan who has created a channel basically parroting what we say on our channel in Portuguese and Spanish. But we're absolutely interested in supporting other creators. So if you've got an idea, you can always go to TrafficCop.ca and send me a message. Let's see here. Darewell says, training question, if you've been pepper sprayed while in the military, would you need to go through it again? Well, oddly enough, at Ontario Police College, when you're going through, it's not mandatory to be pepper sprayed. It's an option.
But it's encouraged. Why would you?
Because he's done it already. He's been pepper sprayed and probably gassed beyond that of any person at the OPC. So
the reason that they do it during the training is to show you that you actually can fight through it. And you know what? The reaction, everybody has a different reaction. It's good to know what your reaction to the OC spray would be before you actually get cross-contaminated by one of your fellow officers, or, you come in contact with a person that you've already sprayed and you now get it in your face and your eyes. I'm the old school guy, so when we got OC spray, pepper spray at the start, we got sprayed. And I was around for some of the first tasers. So guess what?
I asked to be tased, and they wouldn't tase us anymore. But I had gone through as a court officer once, left the service for a period of time when I lived in the States, came back, went through it again with the pepper foam with courts. And then when they said, we're going to do it a third time as a police officer, I said, been there, I've deployed it, I've used it, I've worn it, I'm good. The worst part about pepper spray, by the way, if you're going to be a PC, is not getting sprayed in the face. It's going to take a shower afterwards.
Yep, fair enough. Yeah, I can see that.
It runs down, people. It runs down.
Tasering, the other side, the absolute most pain I have ever felt throughout my body until they turned it off. And then it was 100% perfect again. It is sore. Nothing.
That's, I owned a taser when I lived in Florida.
Yep.
But I've never taken a ride. And I wanted to, but I never tased myself.
But there's taser contact, which is a small area. But we use the probes that go out, and it is to incapacitate as opposed to pain compliance. And it does incapacitate you. And you cannot help but swear afterwards.
I imagine that.
You can.
I've seen some pretty amazing videos of people having some not so good reactions to it in terms of bodily function. And I've seen some, you search taser deployment, you can see a lot of YouTube.
And you know what? The bigger, the tougher, the more muscular,
the better
it works.
Yes. Why is it illegal to create your own privacy in public? Isn't that our responsibility if we want it? This is a follow-up to tinted windows. Why can't we have a privacy glass on the driver's side doors and windows and such?
Because you're in public.
There is no reason. There is no right or there's no reasonable. What is the terminology I'm
There's
looking
no
for?
reasonable
Expectation of privacy. Thank you. It had needed to be triggered. The deal is that you're not entitled to that privacy in public. If you want to be private, stay at home, close the windows, close the blinds. You are in public and you are operating a regulated vehicle, and there are some regulations you must conform to. For instance, wearing a seatbelt, not using a phone, not driving, while consuming alcohol. These are things that we have the right and the need to see and observe you doing or not doing, and then hold you accountable for it. You don't have the right to privacy there. If you want to pick your nose, have at her. We won't judge you, but you can't hide.
Right. Because the greater good is overcome by that. Because we don't want people drinking and driving. We don't want people using their cell phones because it affects you. Mm-hmm. Your privacy when your car is all smashed up is completely gone as well. So I understand what you're saying, but no.
Yeah,
the greater good has to prevail here.
That's the deal. Okay. We got that one taken care of. That was sort of out of order, but I wanted to actually address it because I thought it was a good question or statement. Okay. While I'm looking for other things we can do, this is follow up on a previous question and from the same person. What happened when a parking or any ticket trial date is received longer than a year? Can it be dismissed? That's something called 11B application. I don't think a year meets the grade anymore. It used to be a year.
Yes.
I think it's now a year and a half.
Section 11B of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms guarantees your right to a trial within a speedy trial within a reasonable amount of time. What is a reasonable amount of time? The courts have to decide what is a reasonable amount of time, and you can make application under an 11B, a charter application, to see if the court agrees with you or not, if it is too long.
And you have to articulate it.
But I totally agree. A year is too long.
Mm-hmm.
It is far too long.
And it's based on
personal opinion.
But I agree with you, and it's based on what's reasonable. How long should this be held over your head? Little known fact. I say little because unless you're watching the show, you may not know this. Points, which are what most people seem to be worried about, expire 2 years after the date of the offense. Which means if it takes 2 years to get to trial, you actually never get the points, even if you're convicted. Yeah. But you get the conviction, which is what the actual insurance companies care about. They don't really care about points. Let's see here. I don't know where to look at first. I got a bunch of stuff flagged, but I want to take one of the older questions first. Toronto Road Cam says, good morning. Why do some cops not pull me over for tint and some do? That's from Jado. Well, some cops don't pull anybody over because they're busy doing other things. That's something that people don't seem to understand. And I mean this with the greatest respect. We're not just doing stuff when you're standing in front of us. We're doing stuff, like stuff is happening all the time. And if we're in front of you and you see something, what is it, the term that they're saying, there's never a cop around when you need one? Yep. It's because we're off doing something else somewhere else, and we're busy. And until we get more cops, we can't possibly be everywhere all the time. That's why automated enforcement is so good.
And window tint is dangerous to a percentage, though. Is doing 50 over more dangerous than, not being able to see out of your car? Is impaired driving more dangerous than not being able to see out of your car? Each officer will, have to take that and weigh it with what's going on in their day and make a decision there.
Well, if I've got a prisoner on board, if I'm on my way to something like an assault in progress, I'm not going to deal with the tint. I'm going to drive on. But if it's a possible impaired driver, or, we're doing something where immediate risk to public safety is happening right in front of me, well, then that might negate me or may interrupt my flow where I was going to go somewhere, but now I'm going to say someone else go there. I'm dealing with this.
And you know what? For me personally, window tint is a big one for me because I've been to way too many pedestrian collisions, like collisions with pedestrians and cars, where they're just not seen. And it's because of window tint. It's because of distracted driving. Why not give yourself the best opportunity? Why not give the pedestrians the best opportunity to not be involved in a collision and not get hurt, not get killed? So window tint for me is a big one. So if you're out there, I'll pull you over.
Yeah, and some people this is one of the funny things is not every cop knows every law. We are traffic specialists. We focus on traffic related stuff. We happen to think this is important and study it. That's why we're here. Like, we talk to you to teach you about these things, but we also talk to police officers to teach them about these things. Because some people, like when you go to the police college, you don't graduate knowing everything. You get enough to get you by, to get you into it, and then it's a lifetime, a career full of training and experiences. You know what I used to do when I was driving around and I saw something that I thought was hinky, didn't look right. I pulled them over. I investigated. If I'd never laid the charge, I found the charge. I laid the charge. Some people say that's a lot of work, and you know, I'm going to go for the stuff I know. I know that expired license plate is expired. It's a simple charge. I know how to testify to it. But if you do the thing for the thing that you don't know anything about, then it's scary and it's new, and not everybody's okay with that.
And I was taught a thing a long time ago, and I've always thought about it ever since, is if you look at something and it doesn't look right, it probably isn't, and there's probably a law or rule or something that will explain why it's not right.
Yeah. And we often find things that don't specifically state that it's legal or illegal, but in reading all the surrounding laws, it pieces together enough to substantiate that it's not legal. So it's not just black and white. And people say, I can't find anything in the law that says this, exactly those words. Where did you made it up. No, we didn't make it up. We found that this says that, and that says this, and the space in between means you can't do that.
What's an unsafe motor vehicle?
A vehicle that's unsafe for the road.
Right, but it takes a whole bunch of things put together to make it unsafe.
Sure.
Just one thing wrong, if a light bulb's out, is it unsafe?
It's less safe.
It is.
May not qualify
but
for
if
unsafe.
that light bulb is out and that light bulb's out and the tinted windows and the muffler's dragging and is that unsafe? Mm-hmm. Oh, you're raising the bar.
And before we're going to take action, like we might pull someone over to say, "Hey, your taillight's out." Now, technically, you need to have two you don't have to have. You don't even need to have one, but one may be gone. Now, with one gone, there's no ticket, but we might pull you over to say, "Hey, you're one light bulb away from getting a ticket." Not every interaction with police is a ticket. That's where I'm really trying to go there. Why is there no cap on how fast e-bikes and e-scooters drive on the roads? Some do over 50 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
scary.
But there is a cap. There is absolutely a cap. So a motorcycle is generally described as a gasoline-powered motorcycle. But you have electric motorcycles. So guess
Harley.
what? Yeah,
Harley makes one.
More than Harley. There's a bunch of different ones. An e-bike is effectively a moped motorcycle that has, if it conforms to the legislation, it has the status of a bicycle. It's treated as a bicycle. It's not a bicycle. It is a motorcycle or a moped.
It's a motorcycle or moped that has an exemption on certain aspects of licensing, insuring, and driver license. Mm-hmm. And that's it.
What he said. And if you have it, specifically for e-bikes, 32 kilometer an hour maximum speed on a flat surface without assistance, which means pull the throttle and go. If it goes more than 32 kilometers an hour, it doesn't get that special privilege of being considered a bicycle.
Then it's a motorcycle.
Back to its original status. If it has a motor, an electric motor that creates more than 500 watts of power, or is rated at 500 watts of power, or more than 500 watts of power, I should say, that's not allowed. If it weighs more than 120 kilos, it's not allowed. If it doesn't have functioning pedals, it's not allowed. And there's a ton of rules about the safety and the condition of the battery and all sorts of things that also have to be adhered to. So that's for the e-bike. Now people say, well, why can't it go faster? Well, why can't your Tesla only do 32 kilometers an hour and not be considered a car? They make the rules, you follow the rules, you don't use the thing. Now, guess what? A motorcycle needs license, ownership, and insurance. Your e-bike that is eligible for all the charges of a motor vehicle if it doesn't conform to the rules that give it special privileges. So people get really confused about this. And a friend of mine, it's funny, he's one of my closest friends. He loves the show, has no time to watch the show. He calls me up, we're chatting on the phone, and he says, I'm on my way to buy an e-bike for my kid. I said, really? How old's your kid? Just to make sure, because I don't think your kid's old enough to ride an e-bike. He goes, what do you mean? I said, she has to be 16 years old. He goes, really? She's 15. I said, she can't ride an e-bike. Is that Toronto only, or is that it's the province? Like, these are, people say, why do we do this show? We do this show to educate people about stuff they don't know about, to ensure that they don't get in trouble. So he goes on to say, well, she's going to be 16 soon. I can get her the e-bike now because it sounds like a good deal, and I'll hold it for her. I'll use it. I said, okay, how fast does it go? I asked him. He goes, well, I don't know. He says it's legal. I go, it's great to say it's legal. Is it actually legal? So he ends up going to see this guy. And the first question was, how fast does it go? He says, we modified it to go 60. I said, so he didn't buy it. But he said, you saved me $1,000.
Yeah, there you go.
So, but
And more in tickets.
Because I told him about all the other stuff. But here's a guy that was trying to do the right thing for his daughter. A, would have been the wrong thing. B, really would have been the wrong thing when it was driving an unlicensed, unsafe motor vehicle. Because that's the other thing. An e-bike that isn't getting the privileges has safety restrictions and things it must meet. It wouldn't meet them. Doesn't have the proper braking, doesn't have the proper equipment. It would be an unsafe motor vehicle, which we talked about earlier. Anyway.
Look at that. You got him so upset he was shaking in his seat, squeaking in his seat.
It's a squeaky. I got to wheel the seat.
You did a 5-minute rant on e-bikes.
But I'm really passionate about this stuff because I see people, they drive into cars or ride into cars, and the car insurance is paying for all the damages. It's covering everything. And people get really upset. Why are our insurance rates going up? Well, e-bikes are contributing to this.
Absolutely, there, and they contribute to the collisions with pedestrians.
Yes,
those little unicycle ball things that do 50 miles an hour.
Electric unicycle, absolutely.
You know what? They're getting involved in collisions with pedestrians, and people are getting seriously hurt. Seriously hurt.
I watched a guy get hit by a car. The car was going through. This guy was making a left. He did what most sane people do when you see a car coming. You go stop, and it didn't stop because anyway he went head over the thing, and his leg was only being held on by the skin. Like it was just it's Jello in a bag.
Sorry, what was it?
It was. I mean, I went through frame by frame, and it was gruesome. And I say this with a smile because it was just I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But this is a guy who just wanted to save a couple of bucks and not pay for insurance and not drive a car and not use transit. And I get the idea of accessible green ways of getting mobility and whatnot, but there's got to be a better way.
And I've said it before. I think they look amazing. I think it'd be a total hoot to ride on.
The electric unicycle, yeah.
I really do. I'd love to try one. Not on the road. I'd love to try one.
So I own an electric kick scooter. I bought it before all the rules came in. And I bought it because it was easier to ride than an electric skateboard. I thought I had a skateboard when I was like 6. I could do this. I put one foot on the electric skateboard and it just slid. I'm like, I'm done. Not going to do it. This guy does not need to fall down. Yeah, not good. So just to close the loop on that, we talked about e-bikes. E-kick scooters have a maximum speed of 24 kilometers an hour on a flat surface. Anything over that, those two become or revert to their original status of motor vehicle. Not a good thing. Now, e-kick scooters not allowed anywhere in the city of Toronto, regardless of speed, but they're everywhere. And something to consider, and we don't talk about this very much because I'm not a professional in the insurance business. Neither of us are. We're police officers. But I've had insurance people talk about getting paid as a insured person or person suing insurance. And from the discussions I've had with those insurance people, if you are doing something unlawful, like, I don't know, driving an uninsured motorcycle, and you get into a collision and you want to sue the person, even because the other person did something, but you were in an illegal vehicle, you shouldn't have been doing, do you think you're going to get paid? And you might get paid something, but you're not going to get paid what you thought you were going to get paid.
Yep.
All right. Badoo.
I saw one up there that I want to know your thoughts on there. Right at the bottom of the page there.
Oh, this one. Okay.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Let's copy it and put this over. I don't know if I already did put it in. It might be in the list at some point. Bingo, bango. Let's put this in here. All right. On the screen. So, first of all, what is a LED wheel light? Are we talking about one that goes on the valve stem? Is it one that goes into the wheel well to illuminate the thing like a rock light that for off-roading? This is an interesting question.
It is. So what do you think? Is it lawful or not? If it's a wheel light, they want to light up their tire for some reason.
To make it look cool? If you are projecting white light outward, it's a potential problem. If it's a low, like a 3 lumens, like it's a tiny little, it's an illumination. It's not projecting light. It may not be an issue.
Right. It is pure white, which is allowed on the front of vehicles.
Yeah.
Pointing out the front. The reason that it's allowed on the front of vehicles pointing out the front is so that drivers and pedestrians and people around can differentiate between if the vehicle is supposed to be traveling towards them or traveling away from them. White or amber on the front, red on the rear. Now, if you're doing it as rock lights, my truck has rock lights on it. They only come on when I'm off-roading, and that's what it's made for. If it's to just illuminate inside of your wheel, you know what, depending on how you mount it and how you project it, that light could be pointed forward and there would be no issue with it at all.
At the end of the day, what are you doing it for? Is it to look? Is it to look cool? Because I've seen some that look really shabby. People think it looks cool. That doesn't look so cool. No. But depends.
So anything other than white, if I was standing on white or yellow, standing on the front, looking at it, wouldn't be a problem. Amber on the side, no problem. It's a side light, no problem.
Some interesting questions about bias here, but I don't know.
Bias?
Yeah, they want to know if male cops are biased towards females. It's an interesting question. No?
I'm biased against bad drivers.
I was going to say exactly that. Male, female, other, whatever. It makes no difference. I don't know what someone is before I pull them over. And I ticket quite evenly, or at least I used to. Everyone got the same thing. I say used to because if you don't know, I don't go on the road anymore. I am not in a street capacity. I don't do enforcement anymore. But I miss it. Okay. Let's get back. I got a whole bunch of stuff pinned. It's great. Oh, apparently, first day of summer is June 21st. 21st. Thank you.
21st. Thank you, though.
I do appreciate it. What is this?
Right before my motorcycle trip.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
See, you'd be motorcycle tripping and don't trip on the motorcycle.
Yeah.
If I allegedly have 15% tint in Calgary, is that illegal? That's a very good question for the Calgary police.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the level is in Alberta. Calgary can have their own bylaws, but I believe it is the Motor Vehicle Act in the entire province, kind of like it is in Ontario, that the laws are even across the province. So 15% tint doesn't sound like it's an awful lot. But
it depends. Is it 15% light, translucent, or is it 15% light blockage or 15% light permitted to get through? It depends. And manufacturers rate it one way and we rate it the other way. So how much light is getting through? Because you have to have 70% of the light getting through. Okay, we got... This is they once calculated the length of all roads in Canada? That is quite a... They change so frequently. New roads are all the time. That's a lot of work. Yeah. If you haven't kept up on your responsibilities, I want to know what the current status is. What do we got here? Is it permissible to cross the double white line and use the HOV lane to overtake slow-moving vehicles? Radek. Radek, I think you graduated already, but it is not permissible. It is not a passing lane. You have to qualify to get in that lane in the first place, and crossing those lines, because they're actually supported by signage, means they're enforceable.
You know what? You can cross the lines on the road, the yellow lines, the white lines on a highway, no problem at all, except for those lines, because those lines make it unlawful because of the signage.
I'm jumping. One second. I did the wrong thing. There we go. Right thing now. Liz says, can I ask a 12th Division officer or OPP to sit on the 400 southbound near where it ends at Lawrence? So many drive badly in the area by jumping the lines as if we don't want to get off the highway. There are so many bad drivers everywhere. There's just not enough officers to appropriately enforce all of the rules. I would love, because when I'm driving these places, it's like a cloud of bad drivers all the way around me. And I assume it just means that all drivers are bad, or to some degree.
And you know what? I can tell you that I know of one officer specifically that sits on the very bottom of the 400 series, because it goes from 100 kilometers an hour all the way down to city streets when you come down onto the Black Creek Drive. And he sits there all the time and can do stunt driver after stunt driver after stunt driver, stopping the people coming into the city before they are getting into collisions, hitting people, and killing them because they're not adjusting their speed when the roadway changes. It's the same road. It just becomes a city road, becomes more narrow. Things are different. It's not a controlled access highway anymore. So this officer, he spends an awful lot of time and
There's a need.
awful lot of tickets.
There's a need. What are the rules for riding on Crown land, and how do I know what is Crown land? And Mateos was going to ask you this yesterday, but you weren't here, so this is the question. You weren't here when the question came in.
Riding on Crown land, as long as there's not a law prohibiting it, you can do it. You must follow I'm assuming you're doing it on an ATV or a dirt bike. You must follow the Off-Road Vehicles Act. Have your vehicle insured and properly licensed, and an off-road license plate would have to be on there. You would actually have to have a driver's license to do it on Crown land. If you're on your own land, you do not need any of those things. But I don't know if there is a website where you could go and find what is actually Crown land.
A directory of sorts?
I'm sure there is.
A riding club, a community riding organization would likely.
I'm a member of an ATV association, and there are marked trails, and there are rules on those, but Crown land is used for hunting, fishing, exploration. Farther up north, I would imagine there's an awful lot of Crown land up there. If it is sign prohibited, then obviously you cannot. And there are an awful lot of private properties that appear to be Crown land, but could be owned by logging companies and things like that. So know where you go before you go.
Yes.
Yes.
This one popped up, and I've got a whole bunch that are flagged, but I wanted to cover this one since it was so close in proximity to the last thing we were talking about, e-scooters.
Yep.
The scooters can keep up with the vehicles in the city, but no helmet laws. Well, Candace, if you're talking about Toronto or anywhere in Ontario, e-kick scooters and e-scooters require helmets by law.
Bicycle helmets, though.
Bicycle or motorcycle, it's your choice, but minimum bicycle helmets.
Yeah.
What is this? Do lowered cars pull cop interest if everything else is okay? Lowered vehicles that look unsafe draw attention.
So what do you mean by lowered vehicles? There's a lot of vehicles come from the factory that are low vehicles, but the suspension and the lighting and everything is set up to conform. Now, if you're taking a vehicle and then modifying it to bring it lower, depends on how it's done. Depends what your camber angle of your wheels. It depends on if you've, just done it the cheap way and cut or compressed your springs down, and you think that's a good idea because it looks better, but your suspension doesn't actually keep your tires in contact with the road. All those things come into play. There is a minimum height requirement for your headlights to be off the ground. So I'm not sure exactly what the minimum is. You know the maximum.
Yeah.
Lifted trucks most often have them too high. So.
Well, they say that it's about a 3-inch max lift, and then I think generally a 2-inch lowering. But that's general. It depends. Is it creating body contact with tire frame contact with tire? Is the suspension working when it's lowered? Is it the cheaper, the expensive way? It depends, right? And then there's also a minimum and maximum height that the center of your headlights can be from the ground, which is something I learned from an MTO officer who wrote the law that went in there. But it's very, very interesting.
Now, does it pull a little more interest? It would with me.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm a car guy, and I look at cars and I see if they comply. Stock cars that are driving down the road, less interest because they appear to be stock, safe.
The sleeper cars that don't look like anything.
It may not be the truth, but they appear on its face. So,
can you drive an e-bike with a DUI? So first of all, you can get a DUI on an e-bike. So if you are under the Criminal Code of Canada, an electric bicycle or anything that is powered by anything other than muscular power, muscles. If you are driving something, an electric skateboard, an electric kick scooter, and a unicycle, an e-bike, it is not being driven by your power. Electric motor means it's a motor vehicle.
So under the Criminal Code, there's a definition for motor vehicle, and there's also a definition for a conveyance. And it is a conveyance. And if you are impaired and operating an e-bike, e-scooter, kick scooter, anything, you can be charged exactly the same as you would if you're driving a car.
Yes, and if you are prevented or prohibited from driving a motor vehicle, well, it's another word I was looking for. Anyway, brain not worky. It is the termination from when you're disqualified. If you're disqualified from driving a motor vehicle and you're driving an e-bike, and it's a disqualification from a criminal conviction, that covers e-bike too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You cannot drive an e-bike if you have a DUI while you're under that disqualification.
Like I stated before, an e-bike is a motor vehicle. It is a motorized moped, motorcycle.
Motor.
But has an exemption for insurance, licensing, and license plates. That exemption does not carry over to the highway or from the Highway Traffic Act to the criminal code.
They want to know why e-bikes don't need insurance then, because if the e-bike qualifies under the legislation, it's exempt from the requirements of motor vehicles requiring it. But if it does 33 kilometers an hour, it would technically need insurance, and you could be charged for driving without insurance, except you can't get insurance because that vehicle is no longer safe legally for the road at all. It's private property only. So it's catch-22. Either complies or you're going to get a whole bunch of tickets.
And you know what? I agree with you. I think actually they should have insurance on there.
And license plates.
Because they move an awful lot faster. They're heavier. They cause more damage to people and to property.
Are you guys working right now? Yes.
Yep.
In fact, I think we're working fairly hard. We're doing some serious education. Hardly working. We a lot of people, and I saw a comment earlier which I flagged to follow up. It says, "Our tax dollar is at work right now." Yes, and I yesterday for the first time made a comparison. There are people working at the front desk. One of them is waiting for the phone to ring. They may be doing other work in the meantime, but they're basically waiting for the phone to ring to answer questions from the public, to be of service.
And we get phone calls all the time.
Oh, yes. But we haven't stopped talking for nearly an hour, and we're talking to hundreds, if not thousands. Well, there's thousands of people when you talk about how many have come through, but over 100 people in the room. So that could be divided by 100 police officers, so each person could ask their own question. We are doing the best form of management of resources possible. We also are creating a library of resources that people can search by way of every episode. This is episode 68 of this year, I think.
Wow, very good.
Which is roughly an hour each. Sometimes they're 2 hours, but generally they're an hour each.
You know what? We used to spend an awful lot of man hours, and I'm using the term of manpower as opposed to non-gender, going to shows, going to events, engaging with people one-on-one, talking to people, getting questions answered. Why not do it to more people more often and get more information out there so that we create a community that has knowledge before they go out and get tickets?
Right. This is entirely to protect you, to educate you so you make better decisions. And it's all about the information you have. Like I often say, know stuff before you do stuff and get charged with stuff. You can do stuff not knowing. It's not an excuse. There's no defense. I didn't know. But here we're going to give you the information so you do know, and then hopefully you make the appropriate decision. And that brings me back to the guy yesterday who says, a couple days ago, who wrote to me and said, I got done for stunt driving, but this wasn't the first time he spoke to me through a DM, and I was shocked because you watch the show, you should be learning from the show.
You should know better.
But this 17-year-old got a ticket for stunt driving, lost their vehicle, and they're really not in a position to deal with that. It's financial impact, it's all sorts of things. Antonio says, how can I become a cop? Go to tps.ca/careers. Learn all about that there.
You want to become an OPP?
No. I said cop. Oh, yeah. I thought it was cop.
You said OPP.
OPP, go talk to them. That's the other people's police. OPP.ca.
You know what? All the Ontario agencies, all the Ontario police agencies are fantastic. They really are. Some deal with more stuff. Some deal with less stuff. You're going to learn more in Toronto within the first year than you're ever going to learn in some of the smaller, different places. But you have different rules and different things that you're focusing on. We do our best to get community relations out there. We do our best, but there's just such a big community where smaller agencies, they make those impactful connections with the community to make it safer. So, you know what? With each one, there's a good and there's a bad.
Yes. Very different, and quality of life is different everywhere. I mean, some coppers spend their days, just chatting with the community and being the friendly, nice guy because nothing bad happens there. They're there for the what if. Yep. And then we have policing in Toronto where there's no time for that. It's nonstop, go, and they look forward to the breaks that don't happen. And that's just because we're in a position where we're a little bit understaffed right now. No says, do bikes follow pedestrian rules or car rules? Because in Toronto they seem to do whatever they want. I actually
You're
agree.
absolutely correct.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. Technically, they are vehicles, and they are governed by rules under the Highway Traffic Act. Not all laws that apply to motor vehicles apply to bicycles. There is an obligation to identify that if they fail to do so, they could be arrested for. There is, but they're also wanting to become pedestrians, and if they hop off the bicycle and they walk with it, they are instantly pedestrians again.
Yep. Yep.
A little bit of column A.
Do they have to stop at red lights? Do they have to stop at stop signs? Do they have to follow all the signs that are out there that are appropriate to them? Absolutely they do. And they should.
Justin says, yo, what size knife legal to travel with? Are we traveling outside of the country? Are we traveling within the country?
For what purpose?
For what purpose? I can tell you that some countries, if you have one that locks the blade, I think it's Germany, you're going to jail. Like it's quite serious. They are prohibited weapons if they have a locking blade.
I have a machete up in my cottage.
Yeah.
And I use it for
Macheting
weeds, trees, branches, stuff like that. It's about this long.
Yeah.
Is it illegal? No. But
it's more like a sword.
A sword?
A sword.
An S word. It all depends on what you're using it for.
Absolutely. I have lots of knives. I like knives.
There's no knife length.
They used to, I don't know if this was a guide or thing, and it could be other jurisdictions. We tend to get information from other countries and apply it into our, communities as though it were law. But it used to be like if it was bigger than your hand, or there are things that are specifically outlined as prohibited, like a switchblade, a balisong, which is a butterfly knife. Those are prohibited, just possessing them against the law. So it really depends. If you're carrying something for the purposes of slicing envelopes open, opening boxes, a razor blade. You look at a razor blade, an X-Acto. They do devastating damage if they were used as weapons against humans, but they're legal to carry for work purposes. So it really depends on what you're talking about. I couldn't give you an answer. And ultimately, know this: if you're carrying it for anything other than work or utility purposes, one, if you don't know what you're doing with it, someone's going to take it and use it against you. Two, you're probably going to get charged and be.
It's a weapon. If you're holding it as a weapon, it's a weapon.
Yeah, but
if you're carrying your baseball bat to go play baseball with, it's a baseball bat. If you're carrying it to walk down the street and go into your neighborhood and cause problems, it's a weapon.
Yeah. Can you lane split or filter on a motorcycle? No. It's not, and here's one of those. It's one of those things that people say, "Well, it's not a law. I can't find it in the law books," because it doesn't exist in the law books. However, the behavior that is exhibited by persons who are lane splitting or filtering is that of careless driving, stunt driving, or criminal dangerous driving. And it all depends on the observations. Yeah, circumstances.
And you know what? I agree with you. We talk about being the very last vehicle in line on a motorcycle and not wanting to get rear-ended. And stuff like that.
Getting squished bad.
Sometimes moving over so that doesn't happen. I get it. But do you think everybody else is going to be totally happy with you when you drive up beside them and they can't change lanes, and then you go to the front of the line and think you're better than the rest of them?
What?
I ride a motorcycle. I don't think that way. And if somebody did that to me, I'd go, what the heck? What gives you that?
Our streets are a community space. Community is something that I think people don't value or show respect to nearly enough. We're all here. If I get up early and I'm in front of the line, I should be at the front of the line when I get to the next place. And someone who's being a nincompoop,
there you go,
whipping through the traffic to get past me because they slept in but they want to be first, that's just what is the next level of nincompoop?
Oh, I don't know if there is a next level, is there?
It's not okay. It just creates anger and frustration amongst those on the road with you. And then what happens? Then that person develops some aggression and starts accelerating and doing some things, because why are they allowed to do it? Now, that person's day is potentially ruined, but they may actually take that frustration or get upset. And bad things happen because they make now a mistake. It's the domino effect. It's the butterfly effect. It's the effective effect. Whatever the effect is, we're going to make up a name for it. It's the nincompoop effect.
There you go.
And if you do something that it has impact, and it could result in tragedy, and maybe you'll feel the effects of it, maybe you won't. Maybe that person a month from now does something and you end up getting into a crash because of it. It's just bad stuff. What do you think about car theft? Car theft bad. I think it's pretty clear.
I think it is an industry that fuels other criminal industries.
Yeah.
There's so much money to be made by stealing cars and selling them, especially overseas, that it's going to continue until car manufacturers make it so you can't steal a car. And, for all the technology that's out there, there's always somebody who can override that technology.
And here's something that people, don't take into account. If you stop one way They will change. They will still do what they have to do to get the money they need to be in the criminal enterprise that they're supporting. They're going to just change their game. So we make it harder to steal a car. We start using Faraday bags. They start breaking and taking keys. Whatever, no matter what we do, it's chess. They're going to keep changing the game, but they're going to continue doing what they do. And there's a problem with that because at a certain level, we become the target. It's no longer just the vehicle, right? In most cases, they're taking the car, they're smashing and grabbing, they're taking the whole vehicle, and they're leaving you alone, which means you yourself physically and your family are safe and not traumatized beyond that of the theft. But at a certain point, we make it harder, and now you are part of it because they need you as the missing link to take what they want. Now, the goal is to make it more difficult so they choose your neighbor's car instead of yours. Not so good for your neighbor, but better for you. If you get to the point where everybody's doing the right thing, do they go to the next street or do they start kicking in doors? And that's the problem we're seeing. We're seeing an escalation in violence, an escalation when it comes to the willingness to be armed with firearms and do violence. You know, we look at Teslas and they say, well, Tesla is like the one car you can't steal because you can put a keypad combination. But I bet you, if someone came and pointed a pew-pew at you, and said, give me the code, you're probably going to give them the code. And I would say it would be the right thing to do.
Sorry, what did you just call it?
A pew-pew.
A pew-pew.
Because apparently saying firearm on TikTok, is bad. So all the
like pew, pew.
Pew, pew, pew. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Nincompoop.
Yeah. Storm Gaming Official says, what's your favorite thing to do when you guys aren't working? I ran out of traffic-related questions. There are so many things I like doing. And, I'm a big gun guy. I like target shooting, and I used to be into competitive IPSC and things like that. I'm big into photography. I used to like motorcycles. I still like motorcycles. I just don't ride them anymore.
You're totally a geek guy too.
I'm totally a geek guy.
You're total technology.
I have 2 laser printers, 4 3D printers. I have computers, and I have a studio at home. Like I do stuff, and I like reading, and I'm writing. I do all sorts of things, but above all things, I like spending time with my family.
On the other hand, I have things as well. I have 2 jet skis, 2 ATVs, 3 cars. Sorry, a boat, snowmobile. I got stuff. Travel trailer, motorcycle trailer. I do stuff. I go places. I ride things. I enjoy doing outdoor motorized mechanical stuff.
Yes, it's good stuff. I've never been on I've gone. I used to do the ATV and off road stuff. I've never been on a sled though, like on a ski.
You know what? We'll have to do it one day.
It's cold.
It is.
I don't like cold.
It's fun.
Why aren't we allowed to modify our cars even a little bit?
You are.
You absolutely are.
I do.
Yeah. You can do all sorts of things. The things you do must be legal, though. They have to conform to the law. You can make it your own without breaking the law.
You know what? Most vehicle manufacturers do the minimum to comply with what is needed to be lawful. If you want to make your car better, go right ahead.
Yes.
Make sure it's within what is allowable, though. I do that. I've made my cars better.
And I've stopped modifying cars. When I was young, I did all sorts of stuff between stereos. I mean, how many people put a stereo in their car these days? I put alarm systems. I tinted windows. I did all sorts of stuff. And I wouldn't put 2 cents into a car that I purchased or leased other than to maintain it because I am now the ultimate dad, and I'm going to trade that car in, and I don't care.
See, I just spent a bunch of money to get a vehicle radio modification for my motorcycle so that I have Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, GPS all built in, because Harleys are kind of old school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go.
The good citizen asks the good sergeant. Taser affects everybody different. I've been tased before, stayed on my feet. Other people flop over. So different types of tasers have the original tasers deploy differently than the new tasers.
Yes.
The new ones are far more effective.
With less power.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it depends on how it's deployed, where the contact was made. Did they make good contact? But I mean, yes, I will tell you the one group that it always works on: police.
Oh, it does. It definitely does. And I can tell a story. I did actually tase a police officer accidentally.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. My deployment of my taser was with somebody that we ended up struggling with afterwards. And when I called it out, I was going to tase him again. The officer stepped back, but unfortunately, the wire was wrapped around his back of his leg, and he still had his hands fairly close. And
Oopsie.
yep, down he went.
Alex says or asks, if an adult is riding a bike with kids in a bike trailer, are they allowed on the sidewalk?
No.
No.
The adult is riding the bike. That's what you've said right there.
Yeah, and I got to say that I understand and appreciate cycling is a great way to get around. It's good exercise. It's green. It's a real mode of transportation. I say that because I've been criticized for not saying that. When I don't say it, then it's not that I don't believe it. I get it. I rode bicycle. I was big into biking before, mountain biking, off-road and on-road. I don't like the idea of bicycles in Toronto with kids. Don't hate me. I'm so conscious of child safety and putting kids in proper harnesses in cars. Putting them in a trailer waiting for them to get run over is so terrifying. So I understand why you'd want to be on the sidewalk. And maybe you'd be willing to pay that fee or that fine for riding on the sidewalk to protect them. But I just wouldn't use a bicycle with kids in the trailer, me personally, because I know what bumpers do to cars, never mind what they do to people.
Yeah.
But be safe. And
they are precious. Find an alternate way to get to your location where you can do it safely. But there's nothing wrong with it.
No,
there's nothing wrong with it.
I have personal feelings, and that is a personally biased, charged. I have fear about seeing kids in trailers knowing how bad drivers are. But it's legal and I get it. Trails, great for doing it. I'm all over trails. You can get across from the north end of the city to the water, trails. If you've got a trail way away from cars, I love it. Great, do it. I wouldn't be on city streets with a trailer, me personally, with kids in it anyway. And then I've seen a number of people with e-bikes that have, I actually looked at one of these. It's a really cool bike. It has like a little bicycle rack integrated into the frame, but it's for kid carrier. It's got like two wooden platforms for their legs, and they can sit on it. But I'm still, again, it's an e-bike. You have to be 16 to ride it. Do you need to be 16 to be a passenger on it?
You can't have a passenger on an e-bike.
If it was designed to carry more than one person, you can.
Okay.
I looked into that. But I don't know if you can have...
I didn't know that.
No?
No.
Yeah.
We need a board on the side here. We used to have a board with check marks on it.
But we lost count. It was back and forth. We know what had happened is we'd have one, and then the other. It's not even a counter board. It was a meter. It was just one side or the other. Because we
kind of went back and forth.
Because we don't. Here's the thing: we don't know everything individually, and we learn from each other all the time. And then we both know the thing, and then we find something we didn't know. But we're not really competing. So, but it was fun. We are competing. I got a ticket for racing after an accident. How does that happen when no cop witnessed the speed? Because I don't know. I don't know what evidence they had. I don't know.
Racing? There's not such, well, there is a
it's under stunt driving. Racing and stunt.
There is a racing ticket.
I thought it was racing and stunt and it was combined.
In competitive race bet one, that's a ticket. Stunt driving also gets into racing as well. There's two different sections of it. It all depends.
Maybe it was based on witness statement. Maybe they had video. Maybe they had your statement led them to believe that there was racing, and they believed that they could. I don't know. I don't know. The people ask these questions all the time, and I say I wasn't there. I didn't speak to the officer. I haven't seen your case. I have no idea. If I looked at the case, I could probably find it out. You
know what? If you take off at the red traffic light, and the guy beside you takes off, and you're both racing,
gunning it, yeah.
Guess what? You're racing.
Even if
a charge for that.
Even if you didn't know you were racing, but you looked like you were look at each other. Anyway, it could be perceived as racing. Are Sur-Ron legal in Canada? We talk about this all the time. Sur-Ron are some pretty funky, awesome. I give them props. They're a cool looking motorcycle that happens to be powered by electricity.
Yep, they're a motorcycle.
They do have one that they claim to be an e-bike. I don't even know if they still sell it, but Sur-Rons they do not qualify for e-bike status in Ontario. They are 80-kilometer plus hour motorcycles, and they're cool. You cannot drive them here. And I've stopped people and spoken to them about it, and they went, I can get charged for that? Yeah, because it's a whole bunch of charges.
It's a huge charge. The insurance alone is a huge charge.
What is your most memorable traffic stop? Money. I have so many. But one that comes to mind was one I was on Lakeshore in front of the Legion, which is a regular spot. It used to be a regular spot for me. And I think no, I wasn't there. So, yes, I was there. I'm confusing two stops. That one I was there, and I got a guy doing like 105, 110 on the lakeshore, which is a 60. And so was it 40 over? It must be 115. This is going back some. That's how memorable it is. I can't remember the speed. Whatever it was stunt driving because I took his bike, and I have a picture of his bike being like in the air because it was picked up on a tow truck with a sling.
Yep.
And the reason it was so memorable is because I walked out into the road to stop him because I was on foot, and he slowed down to a crawl, and he was unsteady on his bike, and then he tried to go around me to get away. So I did what any normal person would do. I took one step into his path, and he didn't know what to do. So I reached over and I took his key, and he says, "What are you doing, man?" And I said, "I'm stopping you because I'm the police." And he's like, "What?" He claimed he thought I was a construction worker.
Yeah, well.
But I had 6-inch letters across my chest that said, "Police."
Police.
Police. So anyway, it was interesting. It really stuck out. And he was a dump truck driver, but he lost his license for a whole bunch. So he wasn't dump truck driving for a while. What is this? What happens when this must have come up before he asked about our favorite thing to do when we're not working because it's a traffic related question. What happens when an autonomous taxi like Waymo hits you? Who's responsible? There is no driver.
That's a good question.
It is a good question. I've talked about it before, and actually I'm very involved with the autonomous driving. I sit on a number of committees and discuss these with the people who make the laws, the Ministry of Transportation and whatnot. So in Ontario, a truly autonomous vehicle of that level doesn't exist. We don't have them here. They're not
allowed yet.
They're not allowed. I shouldn't say that. We do have some. They're under a pilot project, and that's with the only people currently that have the pilot authorization is a company called GATIC, and they're partnered with Loblaws, and they're testing trucks. They have like 2 or 3 where they have people sitting in the driver's seat, monitoring them, overseeing, and they can take control. And they have one that does a very fixed route. Last I spoke to them, and that person has a driver in the passenger seat or a passenger overseer, but there's nobody in the driver's seat. And that's the only ones in Ontario, except for I think McGill has. Was it McGill? McGill's in Montreal.
Yes.
So it's a different McMaster. McMaster's in Ontario.
That's in Hamilton.
It's McMaster. I think they have an autonomous little truck that goes around on their property and does it, but they're still part of the pilot. Anyway, in the event that in Ontario, if those vehicles were to become involved in a collision, fault or no fault, the pilot says they're responsible. And who gets charged? The company and their oversight person. So either the person who is sitting in the car, in the vehicle, monitoring, but there's also a eye in the sky kind of person in the control room. And right now they have a 1-to-1 monitor. So it's like a remote control vehicle over technology. So they're sitting there watching a screen and they can see everything that's happening. They're also responsible. In the States with Waymo, they have a similar situation. They have somebody in a control room who may be watching multiple vehicles, like maybe it's 2-to-1 or 3-to-1, but there's somebody there watching and they're responsible.
And you know what? Personal opinion here is there's so much technology going into these vehicles. Now, is it likely that there's a fault or a shutdown that would cause a collision? It's possible. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to say that with so much technology and it being so closely monitored right now, if it was to be involved in a collision, it's going to be a human fault that causes it.
I have a great video if I can find. I'll make a video of it based on your conversation, your question. I'm going to make a video because I have video of a Waymo taxi making a left out of a driveway and then driving on the wrong side of the road in oncoming traffic.
There you go.
So it happens.
So what I just said, never mind that.
It happens. And it happens because it makes the best decision it can based on the information provided. So because there was construction or because it didn't get enough information, it made a logical choice, which turned out to be not so logical. But there are people who are beta testing the Tesla's full self-drive. It's beta software where you are legally responsible for taking over. You're the driver, even though it's driving. And it makes some wonky decisions. It's still learning. Beta. It's not ready for everyone to use. Anyway, during the Honda Indy last year, I remember coming down, and there was a Tesla that was kind of like edging, turning. It didn't know what to do. It had come up to a set of pylons where they had closed the road,
Yep.
and it was just confused. This technology is not perfect, nowhere near perfect yet.
Speaking of which, we are both going to be at the
Yes,
Honda Indy.
Honda Indy. I got to create a screen with all the information, but if you Google Honda Indy, it is from the 19th to the 21st. The 19th should be the Friday, and that is Fan Friday, which means it's free to get in. So if you are going to be in the area or plan to be in the area, since you got enough notice, come down and say hello. We'll be there all weekend.
And we're going to go old school by meeting people in person.
Talking into face-to-face, IRL.
Old school, we're going to bring some old cars with us too.
Yeah, you know what? I haven't got confirmation. I put the request in for all of the vehicles that we have available to us, and one that we've never brought before. I'm not going to say more right now. I'll let you guess and figure it out on your own. I'm really excited about it because it's a blast from the past. And like I said, it's not in any of our stuff. Not our stuff.
Right.
It's been at places. What is this? If an upcoming traffic school bus stopped to pick up children, can I make a left turn in front of it?
Are you going to pass it?
Not going to pass it based on that scenario.
Are you going to put anybody in danger?
You still have to take caution, but if you're not passing the school bus, I do not believe you're doing anything wrong.
No, you can make a left turn in front of it. Unless it interferes with the children that are being picked up.
You got to
or
be
dropped
paying
off.
attention and know that it's a higher risk situation because kids do the darndest things. We talked about this one already. I have so much respect for you guys, so much. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you so much. It is always nice to hear good stuff and that you like it. I appreciate what you're saying, and I get so many messages and DMs offline. Like it's not always in the comments saying that's great. A lot of people in the comments tend to say, what do they say? They say lots of things.
My tax dollars.
Yeah, wait.
work,
Hey, look at that. My tax dollars are paying for this.
There you go.
There's a lot of tax dollars based by the number of tiers.
Yeah.
But yeah, we appreciate it. We know that the majority of people watching this, and with 664,000 followers, we know there's a lot of support, and we appreciate you.
And you know what? I work an 8-hour day, and I'm just going to let you know that, well, my entire lunch hour,
As is mine.
that is about to be done in another 9 minutes that I've spent here with you.
Because
and
you
I'm allowed
want to
have that lunch hour, and I don't get paid for it, but I'm here.
And that's not to say that we can't take a lunch. We're just choosing to spend the time that we would have taken a lunch. And sometimes I spend 2 hours with you. This is part of my job, and it's a valuable thing that we do, and we're going to keep doing it. In fact, the service has been very, very supportive of what we're doing. They bought me a table.
Yep.
That's how supportive they are.
And there is benefits to it, and we've seen those benefits. And you know what? I can't be on here all the time because I have a whole bunch of other stuff that I do, but when I can, I try to because I think there's benefit to it.
There's no question. Nick Brandon asks, do warnings pop up on your automatic radar or just major offenses, suspensions, and expired licenses? So when I stop a motor vehicle, what comes up initially is going to be license, status of the license. Is it valid?
Automatic radar. I think he's talking about
like
automated plate reader.
License plate reader? So, okay. If we're going to do ALPR, what's going to happen is it's looking for specific things: stolen vehicles, wanted persons. But suspended drivers. But if you're talking about someone who's being stopped, and based on the suspension, expired, major offenses, it could be either way. So do we answer both, or we just answer the one?
So we can answer one and then continue on to the.
So there's going to be a cross-reference for wanted persons, whether it be things that are high level. We're not looking for necessarily expired plates, but we're going to look for people who shouldn't be on the road that need to be found, especially Amber Alerts and things.
Which is kind of funny because the whole reason we have ALPRs is to get expired plates because we don't have stickers anymore.
Oddly enough, there's so many of them that we would miss all the other stuff. It would get lost in the noise. So we've currently been deploying it for the highest priority stuff first, and I'm sure as we continue to develop the technology to be able to decipher this from that, we'll be able to start getting everything. But if you're talking about when we pull you over, which is what I thought you were talking about, and you may not have been talking about, we see license, the registered owner's information, the status of that vehicle, and the status of the license of the registered owner. So if they're suspended, we would see that. But when we pull you over and we start investigating, confirming that you are in fact that person, or get your license to look up who you actually are, which is a big thing. People say, well, why do you have to get our license if you can look that up? well, A, it's your responsibility, and B, you may not be the person that we're talking to or that owns the vehicle. So then we see everything. In terms of warnings, we do see that. But we wouldn't see that with an ALPR.
Right.
Warnings aren't an issue. Ryan Pinn is a driving instructor in Nova Scotia and says, ahoy, can I text and drive if I have a doctor's note?
Well, of course, that makes sense.
It makes total sense, but no. Ryan says that many things. He says them all tongue-in-cheek, and he's not being serious.
I'm coming to visit you in 3 weeks.
You should actually connect with him.
You know what? I'm going to be riding around the Cabot Trail. So one of those things that I wanted to do, and we're going to do it this summer.
Awesome. Demetrio, I think that's how to Demetrio. I think I got the name right. Hey, is there such rule as wait 3 seconds on stop saying? So when you come to a stop sign, you have to wait 3 seconds. You have to come to a complete stop. 3 seconds guarantees that you had a complete stop, pretty much. Yep. What I say is when you come up to an intersection or to a stop sign, your vehicle will nose down as you're decelerating, and then when you come to a complete stop, it'll bounce back. When that bounce happens, you know you've stopped. If you're still nose down, you're still in motion forward.
And you know what? It's not because your wheels have stopped, because I've pulled somebody over before who slid to a stop and then took off again.
Yeah.
But he didn't come to a stop. But he thought because his wheels weren't moving, it was good enough.
How would they even know?
How would they know?
How would they know?
How would they know?
Who knew? Please stay safe. You are all doing a fantastic job. Your colleagues here in Hamilton are top tier. Awesome.
Awesome.
It's good to hear. I have family in Hamilton. Okay, we talked about this one. We talked about that one. What does it mean to have a clean driving record? It means it has not been besmirched by any kind of record. You've not received a ticket. Isn't that a good word?
Besmirched.
Isn't it good? I like it.
Yeah. So a clean driving record is where it shows that you do not have any convictions for whatever period of time that we a clean driving record to me, when I look on it, is going to be different from a clean driving record that your insurance company is going to see when they get your driver's abstract.
Truly, if you think about a piece of paper that is white with nothing on it, no ink, it is clean. The more ink you have on it in terms of records being added, it is no longer clean. And I think that's where it all comes from. Although I could ask ChatGPT the origins of clean record, and it will give you 400-word essay on why what it is to have a clean record. But ultimately, if you have no convictions, your record is clean. And your convictions expire after 3 years. That's your current convictions. We see your entire history since whenever you had your first, even if it was before you got your license, it would be on the record because the Ministry of Transportation generates a record for you.
Yep.
Now,
talk about that one.
There should be a lot more education and requirements to be given the authority of a cop. Well,
oh my goodness, there is so much education given to us.
It's never ending.
And it doesn't stop. And there's so much that it gets lost in the brain. Sean, in the last couple of weeks, was putting together a complete education video to go out to our colleagues and some of the other services around with regards to the new towing legislation that came into Ontario. It came in January 1st, but we're allowed to enforce it as of the 1st of next month.
Yes.
And it's confusing. There is the legislation. There are Ontario regulations that go along with this regulation. And then there are the old rules. Some are still in effect. The highway traffic ones still are. Mm-hmm. It is so confusing that we needed to create a training video for everybody to understand it. We've read it. We've interpreted it. And we're putting it out there in simple terms so that people can understand it. And they do that a lot with a lot of stuff.
Sure.
They do that with a criminal code that is constantly changing. They do that with most of the laws that are constantly changing. And some of the laws that don't change, the Repairs and Storage Liens Act is one for me that hasn't changed since 1990 and needs to be changed. Mm-hmm. They don't. So do we keep up? Do we get education? There's so much going on and there's so much given to us and we're bombarded with information. It's sometimes hard to keep up with all of it.
But as Jeff is alluding to, is there should be more training. But what training do you give someone? So when you go to the police college, you're getting some use of force training, learning how to deal with the physical stuff, shooting, wrestling, doing that kind of stuff. When you talk about the law, There's understanding authorities. Now, we're not lawyers. We don't know how to defend, somebody from having the charges. We're not trying to do that. We need to find out what we are allowed to do the right thing, to stop threats, to stop people from doing a lot. It's not as technical as you might think. Things that you would, a layperson would look at and say, that's wrong. Now, we need to categorize that based on what we know. And sometimes we have to phone a friend to do it because we have different specialties. And that's why we have different teams that do different things. But more education doesn't necessarily mean better cop. And that's what I'm trying to get to. We have people with PhDs who are police officers, and they're good in the academic world, may not be a good street cop. Because there's so much. The number one asset, I think, that a police officer has,
common sense.
Common sense and the ability to express themselves in an understandable way. Because I've gone to domestic violence situations and I've had a conversation like I'm having a conversation with you, and it's dealt with. People peacefully do what needs to be done, sometimes charges, sometimes no, but conversations instead of fighting. So other people can't communicate and things get escalated, right? It depends on the individual. And someone who is brilliant with a pen and paper may not be able to have that conversation. Other people, it depends. The right person for this job doesn't necessarily have to be an academic. But I agree with you that training is important. That's why we do it throughout our entire careers.
Yep, nonstop. And in fact, we go back every single year for three days. It's a long 3 days that we go for. And the latest things are brought up, and our qualifications are confirmed once again. We go through testing, we go through scenario training, we go through a whole bunch of stuff.
And that's besides courses that are run throughout the year. Some of them are week, 2 week, 3 weeks, depending on what they are. We have people who are recognized experts by the court for their specialties. We have people who get into very specialized things. Like we're specialized in traffic, but there are people who are sex crime specialists. We have people who are
tech crimes.
Oh, wow, yeah, tons of stuff. Reconstructionists, financial crimes. There's so many things. So to say you need a lot more to be given the authority, but what exactly do you see as the issue? Do you think people are misusing the authority that they're given? It may happen on occasion, but that's with anything. A lawyer could be doing the wrong thing. A doctor could be doing the wrong thing. In fact, speaking of doctors, because I have family members who are doctors, Dr. Shapiro, so actually not Shapiro. But anyway, the deal is that they Google almost everything. I can't get over how much they Google. I mean, doctors, not specifically my family ones, but you go talk to someone and they walk off into a room and they're looking it up, confirm and come back. I've sat with my doctor who I think very highly of, and he teaches doctors, and we have these great conversations. And what most doctors do is learn how to find information. I'm now general. Let's say people nowadays, not doctors, because I'm going to get chastised. They find they know how to look up information, as do we.
That's us.
Yeah,
right there.
We are doctors.
That doesn't look right. Let me find out. I'm going to investigate, and I'm going to look it up.
We find great stuff, and we know how to find it. We may not know everything off the tip of our tongue. We know a lot of stuff.
Yep.
And I'll tell you something. The best thing that's ever happened to my ability to recall information is talking about it every single day with you.
There you go.
It's really, really, really.
You now know the Towing and Storage Safety and Enforcement Act because
I never want to know anything about it again. It's
for
like
2 weeks I made them learn it all.
And see, I didn't do live streams because I was researching, learning, training. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Can I ride my bike at 35 to 40 kilometers an hour? Oddly enough, a bicycle is not eligible for charges under the speeding enforcement stuff.
Unless
Unless
it is in a city park where there's a bylaw that prohibits the speeding.
Different bylaw, different law.
Yeah.
So Section 128 specifically for speeding, not eligible for a bicycle. But yes, a park that has any vehicle it would be eligible. And it's 20 kilometer an hour maximum, right? In all city, which is by law. If you're an e-bike rider, not eligible unless you're capable of going more than 32 kilometers an hour, at which point you lose the designation as a bicycle. Now you're a motor vehicle. Speeding enforcement is now your friend. Well, not your friend at all. Yeah.
Sean, it's getting about that time.
It is about that time.
Yeah.
Is there anything else here that looks really important? These are all ones that we flagged original. Someone said,
many good questions, but
what makes a constable worth $300,000 per year?
I know who you're talking about.
Well, and I've addressed this before. Go ahead.
I'm going to tell you, he made that much. because he works all the time. He works when he's not working. And because he does pay duties and work when he's not working, it isn't paid by the city.
That's right.
It isn't paid by the taxpayers.
So we get our salary, which is based on a working year and our working hours. Anything we do outside of that, whether it be callbacks because we need extra officers, so we come in on our days off after having worked our 40 hours, which is actually we work the way shift work. We don't actually work 40 hours. We work more. But yeah, so it's all overtime. And it's all overtime for private companies usually. But he's sacrificing, this particular officer, his family life to do what he needs to do to provide for his family in an incredible way, because that's a whole bunch of money. But he's a tired guy.
He is. And I know exactly who you're speaking with. He works all the time for stuff that actually has to be done. Mm-hmm. And not only does he work all the time for stuff that has to be done to build a city, to maintain a city, to build roads, things like that, when a police officer is required to direct traffic, things like that. He is so good at it. He comes back to his primary job, and he doesn't miss a beat.
That's right.
He does a very good job on his primary job as well. If making money on the side was affecting your primary job, then it would stop.
Yes.
He's not. He's good.
It really is.
$300,000?
Well spent.
He deserves it. He earned it. For
sure. If you wanted, well, here's the question. People want to make $300,000 for doing 40 hours a week. So he's doing 120 hours a week, or more, I don't know.
Yep.
But would you do that? Would you work and never see your family to be able to, and work every single day, never a day off? Because that's what he's doing. Every day off, he's working. I don't think there's many people who have the commitment to do that, even for the money. Because I can tell you that there's young people who come to this job and they're like, I'm going to play Xbox. I'm out of here. Like the whistle blows, they're halfway to the car.
I don't like midnights. I don't want to work midnights.
It's raining. It's snowing. It's cold.
You know what? That officer goes out every single time, every single day, all the time, and works.
Someone's got to do the job. If nobody else puts their hand up and he does, he deserves it. On a G2 license, can I drive in a different province? Yes, you can drive anywhere that accepts a full license. You just have to follow the conditions of your license. So there's that. I got stopped 119 and 80. Yes, I'm wrong. My friend got 125 and an 80, but cop bumped down to 100. Why? Discretion.
Wow.
I mean, they gave you a gift.
Holy cow! I wouldn't bump you down 25.
I wouldn't. No, I ticket for the full amount. But the deal is that person used their discretion, and they did what they did. That could be because they don't like writing big tickets. Maybe they felt bad for you. Maybe they read your record. Maybe they know what it's like to be a young person, assuming that you're a young person. I couldn't tell you what their motivation was. I can tell you that I wouldn't have bumped it down. Yeah.
All right.
We got 3 questions and we're done.
We gotta wrap her up.
But there's only 3 questions left.
Okay, let's do it.
That's why I'm pushing. And there's lots more questions, but we flagged a whole bunch and we're not actually. Well, that's a good one. Do you think OPP being able to do breathalyzers for traffic stops is going to stop drinking and driving? So that's a good question. We should do
we should do that one right now.
I think so.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Why are the prices of parking tickets gone up so much? Because they were way too low. They were ridiculously low. So low that people were willing to pay them rather than going down the street to pay the same amount of money for parking.
Yeah, risk it. If it's $30 to park or sometimes more for an event downtown.
People go right in front of the nightclub and just park there and they go, oh, it was $50 or $40 there, $10, I got less walking to do. Like they don't care. That's what it is. They don't care. Okay, but with this question, then I'll go find the other question while we're answering this question. And that's not where the questions live. Hang on a second.
So does the officer have to use a tint meter to be able to give a tint ticket? No, actually they don't, because the officer is going to give you the obstructed view from the inside or into the car. When you get your car certified, they're going to use a tint meter to give you a ticket because it's over 30% light blockage. Two different acts, 2 different legislations. It's our observations of it, and if we can't see in, you're getting a ticket.
Yeah. Now, there are police agencies who have chosen to adopt tint meters. We actually have them for commercial vehicles.
Yep.
Different purpose, different reason. You just can't. You just can't prevent people from looking in, and because it's such a simple rule, it's yes or no. I saw it, and I didn't see it. I don't have to prove a level because the law is not written to require it. But for commercial vehicles, I think they want to have a specific number for inspection purposes. Totally different thing. They take it out of service, different thing. Okay, here's the question. It is the last question. Then we do dad jokes and say goodbye. Lauren says, do you think OPP being able to do breathalyzers for traffic stops is going to stop drinking and driving. First of all, it's not the OPP who can do them. We can all do roadside screening devices tests. We can all make demands.
We have been able to for a while.
For a long, long time. And I mean,
and we actually do them like that.
So there's two different things. There's a roadside screening device demand, which says I have suspicion, and I'm going to make a demand based on my suspicion for you to provide a breath sample into a device so I can determine what's going on. If you have more than, because I have a suspicion. I don't know. It's a suspicion. But in 2018, in December of 2018, they brought something called MAS, mandatory alcohol screening, into play. And that was done Canada-wide, obviously, it's Criminal Code of Canada. And it's what countries around the world have been doing forever. No longer do you need to have a suspicion of alcohol through either admission or observation, so odor of alcoholic beverage, or admission of you saying, yeah, I had a couple of drinks, because that's what used to be required. Now it could be, every car I stop, I do a test. And I, as an officer, I can just say, I'm going to do that. I'm going to write in my book, every car I stop today, roadside screening device. And that's enough, and it's always been that way. What's changed recently, and why you're bringing up the OPP, I imagine, is because they made it a policy for their officers in the GTA that every stop shall have a test done. And they're catching all sorts of people that they didn't think would be. I remember an arrest where a guy rear-ended another car on Strawn, just outside of the police station, at 9 in the morning. I went to sleep. I had an 8-hour sleep. Woke up drunk. Hit a car. Just because you had a sleep doesn't reset your booze meter, right? So
and you know what? You may not even be drunk.
Right.
You still could be over 80.
So yeah, and you're still you're polluted and an nincompoop.
Do I think it's a great thing? Yes.
I do too.
I think we should do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Although we have the ability to do that, and there are officers out there right now that are doing that.
Yes.
They start their shift and they go, every car.
Because that's the way they play. And it could be that someone else could say, I'm going to do it every 5 cars. That's up to them. But it's a great thing. Okay, so we got...
hey, do you want to hear a good dad joke about potassium?
About potassium?
Yeah.
Sure.
K.
K is the short form for potassium.
It's the element.
The element, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Okay. It's bananas.
Yeah, K.
What superpower do you get when you become a parent?
Oh, it's got to be dad joke ability.
Supervision. I like that.
Not bad.
Supervision.
Not bad. Not bad. Akela?
Another Akela joke, because his was not good yesterday, so he's really bringing it today.
Okay.
The food at my favorite restaurant has really been up and down lately. Some blame the cook, but in my opinion, it's the dumb waiters.
I like it.
But nobody knows what a dumb waiter is anymore.
Do you guys know what a dumb waiter is?
A dumb waiter lives.
A dumb waiter is a thing that was in the wall that you used a rope and you lifted.
With Macaulay Culkin, I think used it to get in Home Alone to get. Yes. Didn't he go up between floors and it's called a dumb waiter. I wonder how many people are Googling this right now. Okay, this is a quote. I don't think there's any dad jokes from anybody else. With courage, you will dare to take risks, have the strength to be compassionate, and the wisdom to be humble. Courage is the foundation of integrity. Keshvan Nair. I like that.
I agree.
Keshvan, I don't know how to pronounce the name right, but I do like that. That is very good. All right. It has been an absolute pleasure to spend time with you. We are going. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. Drive sober. That means no drugs, no alcohol. And, of course, park legally. The prices went up.
Yes.
See, I brought that back. Yeah. Just looking to see if there's anything.
Have an awesome weekend.
Amazing. Yes, have a great weekend. I'm going to play a song in a second.
And I'm getting out of here.
Okay, we'll see you. We'll see you
stuff
later.
And things to do.
There's lots to do. I got lots to do. What do we do? Ticket-free highway, driving in the chaos. Let's go with driving in the chaos. We're going to play a song, and we're going to say goodbye. And we'll see you soon. Not next week, because I'm off next week. See you the week after.
Zooming down the highway, pedal to the metal, but oh my goodness, what's with the slow pedal? Speeders and slow drivers, they're driving me insane. Can we find a middle ground? It's a driving game. Lights on, lights off, they can't make up their mind. Flashing like a rave party, it's a scary sight. Entitled people acting like they own the street, but with their driving skills, they're just causing grief. Traffic jam, hear the honking, it's a symphony. Entangled in a mess of pure insanity. Special people making U-turns on your street, blocking all the lanes, don't you have some courtesy?
Your future career starts with a vision. A vision of opportunities ahead, where you can see a path to a noble career, serving the city of Toronto. Where do you see yourself? Toronto Police Service. Apply today.